a lot of us in the movement are old enough to have had a career back before we ever got into the Right to Die movement. And Chris was a wildlife photographer. Amazing. He spent 30 years as a wildlife and conservation filmmaker. And something about he has 300 original wildlife productions. Maybe he can tell you more.
I've in my career, I produced 300 original hours of television and IMAX films. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Oh, yes, of course. Anyway, I turn it over to Chris, and he was like to lead a very loose conversation here about the end of life.
Wonderful. Thank you, Faye, so much. And thanks to all of you for coming. I've opened the chat. You are welcome to use it. I'll take questions throughout. You can ask me anything. I'm going to be talking about some specific things, but you can ask me anything on aging, death, and dying. The chat room's open. I encourage you to think of questions you'd like to ask, anything on your mind, okay, or comments. So, the book, this new book of mine is called, as you can see, called Achieving a Good Death. So I thought I would start. By answering, because some of you may be wondering, well, what is a good death? It also almost sounds like a contradiction in terms. Because how can death be good? Blah blah blah. But I want to start by talking about what is a good death. What does it mean? And a good death is a death the dying person wants. It is deeply personal and subjective and aligned with the desires and values of the dying person. So, for someone of unwavering Catholic faith, might find redemption through enduring suffering. But for many people, a good death, and including myself, for many people, a good death is gentle, peaceful, free of pain and suffering, and full of grace and dignity. The dying person is surrounded by loved ones, has a chance to say goodbye and thank you, and hears from those present how much the dying person's life meant to them. The room is full of loving exchanges, expressions of tenderness and gratitude, perhaps even joyful reconciliations, and shared memories of a well lived life. A good death is characterized by doctors telling the patient honestly that death is near. It's amazing how many doctors are afraid to say that. The death is near, so that the patient can say goodbye to loved ones. Talking openly about death's inevitability does not make it more likely to happen, as you all know. Instead, it allows patients to complete their lives with grace, gratitude, and expressions of love and appreciation, and focus on what matters to them. A good death means being prepared to die, having few regrets. I won't say no regrets, because we are all human, we all have regrets, but having few regrets and having one's affairs in order. It means to have one's advance directive, and dementia rider followed, and to be able to die when one wants to. Above all, a good death means the dying patient controls what is happening to them and their choices. So I'm going to pause there I just see no questions. Oh, okay. We need to fill that chat room with good questions. So I encourage you to ask questions. I'm going to pause now for anybody want to raise their hand or you can also, by the way, you can also go down if you want to the react button at the bottom. You'll see it right in the middle. Press that and you can press hand raise, and you can get my attention that way as well. Okay, so I'm not seeing any questions. Anybody want to wave to me? We got several three. So we got oh yes, Tom Hicks. Tom, go ahead, please.
Who?
I was just waving to you because I thought you wanted some acknowledgement that we were
Well,
actually
aren't
hearing
you
you.
nice? Aren't you nice, Tom? I was
But
just what I was thinking was someone please wave to me.
since you
No,
want some
thank you.
I'm
interaction,
waving too.
you know,
Thank you, Tom.
that the issue of regret and a good death is an interesting question because I anticipate that I will have quite a few regrets when it's time to say goodbye. including having to say goodbye. But I'm hoping that I can arrange a good death, even with the regrets that I will be carrying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Very
I have
good.
regrets now, and they're not
Yeah.
just going to disappear. So
Right,
yeah.
right. Yeah, very good. Thank you, Tom. By the way, let me just say to all of you, please keep your comments succinct and pithy, because we don't have much time. We've only got an hour. We want to finish by 4 o'clock, so we're going to move along swiftly. So keep your comments as pithy as possible. So Tom, thank you for your comments. Okay, now what I'm going to do next. And please think of questions. I would encourage you to have get a piece of paper out and pencil as an idea occurs to you. Write it down. Don't lose it. Write it down or put it right in the chat. Now, this book, Achieving a Good Death, is there's a lot in there, and so I've been thinking, what am I going to talk to you about today? Because it talks, the book deals with before death, things like living well to die well, death cleaning, advanced directives, dementia riders, ethical wills, blah blah blah. It deals with death itself, or near death itself, palliative care, hospice care, end of life doulas, medical aid and dying, end of life options, VSED, and palliative sedation, etc. Okay, and it obviously deals with a third broad category after death: body disposition, green burial, human composting, blah blah blah. Okay, so there's a lot in the book. So what I've decided to do is I've just picked out in an arbitrary way, picked out 3 topics, to talk briefly about, and then I'm going to talk about them, and then pause after each one for comments. Oh, good, there's a question. And Greenblatt, can you talk more about dementia issues with achieving a good death? Let me do that. Let me do that right now, because that is such. And thank you for the question. That's such an important. Okay, this is we all know. The dementia is increasing. The numbers are going up. Just a report about that the other day. It's a terrible problem. Dementia is a disease can last 10, 14 years. So the thing about dementia, the most important thing about dementia to say at the beginning is to have a dementia rider with your advanced directive. A lot of people don't do advanced directives, let alone dementia riders. It's only 60% of people don't do advanced interventions. In communities of color, it's 80%. Terrible numbers. So we need to do advanced directives more and follow that with discussions but the important thing with dementia, and to your question, is you want to add a dementia rider. Now, where do you find a dementia rider? Okay, I've looked at lots of them. The best one is on the Compassion and Choices website. Go to the Compassion and Choices website. You can easily find. Just quickly search for dementia values and tool. They have a little a program there you can go through, and you can just write right there your own dementia rider, print it out, attach it to your advanced directive. You copy it to your doctor and your loved ones. So that's the most important thing. Now, the other thing to do about dementia is well, let me say what the dementia rider asks you to do is say how you want to be treated at different levels of dementia. So when you are beginning with dementia, you have mild dementia and you still have capacity, you may say, and for that, basically, keep me alive, give me treat any illness I have, blah, blah, blah. But then when you come to moderate dementia, where you're becoming more forgetful and then you might say, you might not be so firm about that. And when you get to advanced dementia, where you cannot remember your loved ones and your brain is just, disintegrating, as it were, then you might want to say something like, look, if I get pneumonia, do not give me an antibiotic. Give me comfort and let me die naturally. Let that be a way for me to exit life. So you want to state how you want to be treated, and now then your loved ones know. At least they will know what you would want. Now, there's a thing that Fay and others, Thad Pope and others have been discussing, which is very intriguing, which is if you have dementia, of course, to take advantage of medical aid in dying in those states where it's legal, which is only 11 of them, including DC, you have to be, as you all know, 6 months of dying, within 6 months of dying. And of course, that means medical aid in dying doesn't work for dementia because when you get 6 months of dying with dementia, you no longer have capacity and therefore are ineligible for medical aid in dying. So but one idea that Thad Pope has been researching and suggesting is that people can use VSAID, voluntarily stopping eating and drinking, to to shorten their lives, use that to become within 6 months of dying, therefore get accepted into hospice and into become eligible for medical aid in dying. So this is a new idea that Faye and the Hemlock board is beginning to gently explore as a way of helping those with dementia. Okay, there's a lot more to be said about dementia, Anne, but let me leave it there for the minute because time is going on. So Beth says, how did you become a deathbed dignity activist and author? Well, because I was scared, Beth, of dying. Not scared isn't strong enough, petrified of dying. And when I was 60, I'm 77 now. When I was in my 60s, I thought this is not healthy. And I had two choices: go to therapy or deal with it. And I started to confront it, study it, I give a lot of talks, talk about it, and gradually became more knowledgeable about end-of-life issues and wrote the book, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I hope that, Beth, answers your question. Christopher, good name there, Carver says, does the book contain within it a how-to guide on how to do the helium method? No, it talks about the Final Exit Network. I serve on the board of FEN, very good organization. They use nitrogen, not helium, but you could use helium. It doesn't give, in my book, it doesn't give the detailed guide to that, but because it's giving a more of a 5,000 feet look down. But there are lots of books, and of course, there's the pill book, and there's. Sorry, Faye, go ahead.
Final Exit by Derek Humphrey.
The wonderful book by Derek Humphrey, Final Exit, which I highly recommend. Excellent book. Of course, he's just died, and Faye has written a lovely tribute to him. And I just learned that the London Times today has a tribute to him, which is good news. He deserved that recognition. Anyway, going back to Christopher. I've answered the first question. Also, Christopher says, what do you think about people suffering from treatment-resistant chronic clinical depression with heart? Don't know enough about that. I'm not enough of an expert on that, Christopher, to talk about it. Maybe someone else in the audience is. Treatment-resistant chronic clinical depression with I can't answer that. Faye, is that something you know about?
Well, I know that Canada's considering that, including that in their criteria for eligibility. And we know that Holland and Belgium do provide aid in dying to people with chronic psychiatric disorders, including treatment-resistant depression. So it's an idea that we probably won't consider in the United States for the next 20,000 years. I don't know. We're very behind here, but we are certainly considering expanding the law now and have been for a long time. The law is not the way Derek wrote it 40 years ago as a beginning theory about what aid in dying should be like. Whether to include psychiatric disorders or not is tricky. Alzheimer's is tricky, and any neurodegenerative disorders that are not terminal cause a lot of suffering and cannot be alleviated under our laws. Final Exit Network has a different sort of solution to the problem, not the law.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Faye. And we have in the audience Janet Hager, and Christy Golan might be here as well. But Janet helped to found another organization, A Better Exit, which is working hard to expand the California law. So, Janet, thanks for all your work on that. Kathy Duke. Hi, Kathy. Nice to see you here. Lovely to have you here. Kathy says, how do you say goodbye if you're self-delivering using FEN? What you do is you say goodbye and then put the head over and deliver the nitrogen. So you can take your time. You can have a celebration. You can have a party. Your friends come, and then you can use the hood and nitrogen method. So, Kathy, I'm not sure if I'm getting your question. I hope I'm answering it. Please come back and ask me more questions. Carl Steinberg, Dr. Carl Steinberg. Another good dementia directive is available through, yes, caringadvocates.org. Thanks, Carl. Thank you for that. Yeah. And then Pat Fisher, another quality of life directive that eliminates the need for a separate directive, was written by attorney. Oh, yes, Bill Simmons. That's right. Thank you very much, Pat. Yes, and so that, yeah, finalexodus.org. Yeah, please visit that. Bill Simmons is a fantastic guy, and all right, thank you. All right, so I know what I've done now is I picked 3 topics from the book in a fairly arbitrary way. The first one is ethical wills. So I'm going to talk about ethical wills for about 5 minutes, then I'll take more questions. So keep thinking of questions, keep putting them in the chat, please. Okay, so ethical wills I'll talk briefly about. When COVID hit in March of 2020, I started writing letters. There were 5 or 6 pages. They were love letters to my wife, to my 3 daughters, to friends. I ended up writing about 60 of them. This is a lot of work, and it was telling them how much I valued them. Once I was doing this, I realized I was writing a ethical will. An ethical will is a love letter to your survivors. So don't confuse it with a living will, which is an advance directive, or a legal will, which is how you deal with your possessions and house and so on. This is an ethical will, also called a legacy letter. And so an ethical will is a love letter to your loved ones, telling them your values, telling them what you hope for them, telling them why you value them, telling them why you cherish and treasure them, telling them perhaps stories from your life, maybe some things where you struggle with, maybe it contains an apology. I'm sorry I was so strict with you when you were little, but whatever, so, and some people say, well, I'm not a writer, how can I write an ethical will? So I'll give you an ethical will. It can be just a few lines. My darling son, I love you. As you know, I'm going to die at some point. It's inevitable. But I just want you to know how important you are to me. I will love you forever. Love, Mom. Okay, so that is an ethical will. Now, most ethical wills are more detailed. They contain more information. They talk about values. They might talk about family stories. They might talk about grandparents, stories from grandparents and parents. They might talk about things that they hope their child will accomplish. It could be anything, So an ethical is very important. It is a way of revealing what is deep in your heart. And I like to say that we die twice. We die twice. We die first when our heart stops beating and our brains stop functioning. We die a second time many years later when the last person who knew us dies. Both those deaths can be ameliorated, assuaged, softened by writing an ethical will, because an ethical will enhances our legacy and gives us a way of talking to future generations. So I want to encourage you to write an ethical will. And let me pause for questions. Let me quickly look in the chat. Let's see here. Oh, no questions. Okay, we need more questions. I want this to be very interactive. So please ask anything you want. And you can ask me about ethical wills, but you can ask me about anything. The floor in the chat, you can ask me anything anything you like. I'm not seeing anything there at the moment. All right, so we'll keep going. So that was ethical wills. Now, the second topic I picked arbitrarily to talk about is hospice, because I just picked that, but the hospice, as I think most of you know about this, hospices will, if you sign up for hospice, you've got to be within 6 months. You have to be recommended by a doctor, of course, and then if it'd be 6 months of dying. Of course, Art Buchwald, the famous humorist, and Jimmy Carter went far beyond 6 months, and good for them. You have to be recertified every 6 months. I mean, that's what they did. But sadly, in this country, the average length, I serve on the board of a hospice, and the average length of stay is about 11 days. And so it's not enough time to take full advantage of everything hospice has to offer. Now, some people think hospice is going to give you 24/7 care. And I think you all know that isn't the case. You might get a visit from a social worker and a nurse for an hour, 2 hours a week. The best hospices will try and come more often if there's problems, or as you get closer to dying. So they will come when you first join. They'll come and give you a bed, a toilet, commode, drugs, morphine if you need it, all these things to get you set up, and they'll tell you how to do it. But they don't give you 24/7 care. You have to have friends and family. So hospice can be very burdensome on families and loved ones. This is why it's for people who are solo aging. It can be a real problem, because hospice can only do so much. If you have money, of course, you can hire somebody to help you, but you have to pay for it. So people who don't have money, it's a real challenge. But hospice is excellent. I highly recommend it. Many more people should do hospice than actually do it. They have teams of doctors, nurses, social workers, hospice volunteers like me, and the best hospices are non-profits. Of course, there are some non-profit hospices that don't do a good job, and there are some for-profit hospices that do a good job. But in general, doctors will tell you that non-profit hospices give you provide a better service. For one, they will often offer complementary therapies, non-pharmacological things, aromatherapy, pet therapy, music therapy, massaging your hand, touch therapy, and so on. And so if you have a choice, go to a non-profit hospice. So there's a lot more to say about hospice. It's a big subject. I give a separate talk on this, but let me just pause to see if anybody. Let me see here. So let's see here. Okay, so okay. Oh yes, we're talking about Bill Simmons. Okay, then Beth Givens says, where do you suggest that people store ethical wills? Online, ? Are there online services that can be trusted? There probably are, Beth, but the best thing is all of us should have a file at home which our loved ones know where to find it. Or if you're a solo aging, then a neighbor knows where to find it, or a friend. But where you store things like ethical wills. But I'm sure you could do it online. Directive.org it does that for advanced directives, and they may do it for ethical wills for all I know. I mean, you could always make an ethical will part of your advanced directive. So if there are online services that can be trusted, I don't know. Just tread carefully, because anything to do with the internet, you have to be careful about. But the best thing is to now. You might say, here's a question: what do you do with your ethical will when you finished it? Well, and I think that it's good to give it to the people now when you're alive. And now some people will put it away and put it with their legal wills, and it won't be revealed until they die. But I think it's a wonderful bonding experience. When I did my toast, I call them toast letters, because for a bit of levity in the letter I had an image of a piece of toast, because I was toasting them. Silly joke. And so I call them toast letters. When I was doing my toast letters, it led to, I sent them to people, and it led to wonderful conversations. Oh my gosh, what a bonding experience. It was fantastic. And because some people thought I was dying. No, I'm not I wasn't dying. I was just wanting to express my love for them. So give it out. I mean, here's the way to do it. Following Martin Seligman's advice, who's one of the founders of positive psychology. Get your letter and go to see the person that you've written it to, and sit down with them, and get a cup of coffee or tea, and then say, I've done this letter, I want to read it to you. And then read it, but read it slowly, and stop after each sentence. And you will end up crying and sobbing, and it'll be wonderful. It'll be something you'll never forget. It'll be something they will never forget as you express the things you love about this person. But storage, Beth, just somewhere people can find it. Okay, Christopher asked a question: in your personal opinion, do you believe individuals suffering from treatment-resistant psychiatric illness should be allowed to receive physician-assisted suicide to end their lives? waves, especially since they've tried everything under the sun to treat it without success. My opinion, which is not worth a damn thing, because this is just an opinion, is yes. PK Bevel. PK says some hospices now also have death doulas, yes, who are attending when hospice can't be there. Yes, yes. I'm so glad you mentioned that, PK. Thank you so much. Yes, I've just introduced a whole doula thing at our own hospice, Montgomery Hospice here in Maryland. Yes, I think end-of-life doulas have a very important role assisting, supporting hospices, and hospices need to find ways to use them. Some hospices are resistant, but hospices need to find ways to use death doulas so people who are dying get more one-on-one attention, to help put up their chat ratings. Okay. Okay, and then Tom Hicks again. Hi, Tom. Another resource that I'm guessing most of you are aware of is Pegasus. Yeah, Pegasus is one of the non-profits in Switzerland. Dignitas, of course, is another one, and End of Circle. I think Life of Circle.
End of
Circle.
life circle.
Thank you. What is it saying?
End of life circle.
End of Life Circle. Thank you.
Out of business. Yeah.
So these are non-profits where you can apply if you can't find a way to hasten your death in Washington because you can't access MAID, you don't like VSAID, you don't like FAN, but you're willing to do all. It's expensive and costs $10,000-$20,000 and it's a lot of paperwork, but it's a very good. The Swiss have progressive laws when it comes to hastening death. And so, yes, so Pegasus is a very good website, and Dignitas also has an excellent website. You can find more guidance there about the Swiss option. And Exit International will give you more information about SARCO, of course. Okay, Donna Abbott says, which of these documents should be in your medical records? All these documents. I mean, I think it's good to share your ethical will with your doctor. Why not? But the ethical will is really meant for your loved ones. But advanced directives, absolutely put them in the medical records. Yeah, put the advanced directive and your dementia rider in your medical record so that if another doctor comes to it, they can see what you want. Tom says another great resource is goingwithgrace.com. Yes, I agree. That's very, very good. And Sherry says, is 1,200 milligram of Zerbilatin Ambien sufficient to end life? Don't know the answer, Sherry. I do not know the answer. Faye, do you know the answer?
I don't, but if I did, I don't think I would say.
Okay.
I don't find it comfortable to give out formulas.
Yeah.
Even when we have private discussions at my retirement community, and they all devolve on, okay, how do I kill myself? I think formulas of medications are, first of all, complicated, and it's generally not one medication. If you go to Lonnie Shavelson's website, he talks about what's being used now if you're using the end-of-life option, for example. And those medications, but there's a combination now of 5 different medications with 5 different doses. So for us to say, 6 milligrams of Ambien, which I didn't say that, but I have no idea.
Right.
You in is not helpful.
Thank you, Faye. Very wise advice. And by the way, Lonnie Shavelson has a new website just revealed, I think yesterday. It's excellent. I've been studying it. Well worth visiting. Okay.
What is it?
Carl?
Do you have it? Lonnie's website?
Not right in front of me. Sorry. If someone else, Pam, would you mind looking that up, please? They've got a new name. The Academy for Medical, I think it's called the Academy for Aid in Dying or something like that. Academy for Aid in Dying, Lonnie Shavelson. And you can find that on the website, Pam, and put that in the chat room. That would be great. Thank you, Pam.
And they're a very good source of if you're looking for a doctor to help you die.
They have excellent resource. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. Dr. Carl Steinberg says not to give medical advice, but I would say there's no amount of, I can't even say the word, zolpidem that would reliably end a person's life. Okay. Thank you, Carl. Christopher says, can you please teach us how to end our lives or point us in the right direction? Are there any websites that give clear instructions? So, Christopher, I don't want to discuss this now, but just write to me privately, please. My email is Christopher. Pam, would you put this in the chat room? My website, my email address, christopher.n.palmer@gmail.com. So, Christopher Carvano, please write to me, and I will help you with that. Okay. Jim Van Buskirk, he's a wonderful guy, says, given folks antipathy to the stigmatized topic of death, how can your book and these conversations be shared more widely? Good question, Jim. And you yourself have a wonderful new book put out by Fenn. I don't have it right next to me, but you might put the name of your book, of the new Fenn book, in the chat room, please, Jim, so people can see it. But how to share more widely? I think organizations like Fenn, like the Hemlock Society of San Diego, and like others, they've got to raise their game. We've all got to do more, get out more, talk more, write more, write more. I noticed A Better Exit had a wonderful op-ed piece in the Los Angeles Times recently. We just got to get out there and talk more and talk to more people. What I found is that it tends to kill conversations, but I've also found that once you get past that, once you engage people, then people become fascinated. They want to know green burial. They want to know how to have a good death. They're very curious. So we have to break through that initial wall. So thanks for the question, Jim. That deserves a much better answer from me. But we've got to use every tool at our disposal: the internet, and the legacy media. We've got to use every blogs, podcasts. We've got to use everything we can to get the word out. Okay, thank you. Mary Ganapol gives aadm.org. I'm trying to remember what that is. AADM. Would you please this is answering Carl's.
The
Okay.
Academy of Aid in Dying Medicine's website.
Thank you, Janet. That's it. This is Lonnie Shalverson's new website. I've got it now. I'm sorry to be slow. aadm.org. Yes, everybody go to that and look it up. And then, oh yeah, there it is. Okay, good. Thank you. And then Karina has a question for Faye. Faye, by the way, is spelled Faye. That's okay. But she says, Faye, is your retirement, I think you meant retirement community, aware of your position? Faye.
Oh, yeah. They can't help but being aware of my position. They don't like to hear it too much, but they know. And maybe I had something to do with it, but a lot of people have died here using the End of Life Option Act, and it's gone well. And the wellness center and the nurses and the doctors on staff all are okay with Aiden dying. So the only problem with Aiden dying is the law is so restrictive. So as Janet will tell you. So there are people here who would like to have had an assisted death who are not eligible because of the law. And they sometimes take matters in their own hands, which we don't like to see that. And no matter, one guy shot himself, which we don't believe in. Violent methods like that is horrible. Another method is to stop eating and drinking, which is not the best way to die in the world. And if you are in our care center and you say, I don't want to be fed or hydrated, you can't do it. Care center attendants will not do that to you. They will not. And so a friend of mine whose wife was in the memory unit for 8 years with dementia discharged her. They got an apartment in La Jolla, near where we live, and the 4 children took turns taking care of her with a paid caregiver, and she died that way without being fed or hydrated. So there are ways to get around it, but my retirement community is not as progressive as some. There's one where their management said, okay, we're here to make your end of life comfortable with all the food and the entertainment and everything. And we'll also help by sanctioning your end of life committee. So you now have a committee, and every year they give 10 or 12 presentations about different aspects of end of life. So my place has not gotten to that point yet, but one of them has.
Great. Thank you, Faye. Tim, you had a question. Your hand's up.
Yeah, just to make a point, in terms of promoting awareness of good death and MAID, etc. I think these days politically we have to be aware that there's going to be a lot of pushback increasingly, and so to go into the public.
You mean with the new administration? You mean?
Yeah, to go into the public realm without being aware of that might get you stepping in some pretty messy mud.
Yeah.
We have to be aware of what's happening politically,
Yeah.
and prevent some backlash.
Absolutely.
We're already going to be getting.
Yeah,
So it's a tricky balance.
Yeah, Tim, you are so right. Report 2025 shockingly, explicitly spoke out against medical aid in dying, and so we're facing political headwinds. I thank you, Tim, very much for making that point. Okay,
On the
so
other hand, Social Security is cut off and Medicare is cut off. They might advocate aid in dying. Who knows?
yeah. So Jim Van Buskirk has put his book there. There at the End is a terrific book, really worth reading. Kim says, suggest your local library buy copies of both print and ebooks. Yes, there's a long. I found it the other day. There's a long waiting list of people waiting to borrow my book at the library here near my house. How do folks overcome fear of dying? Kathy asks. Yes, Kathy, that's a good question. There's no quick answer to that, but I think talking about it, talking about your fears, if necessary, going to a therapist and getting help, but learning about it is the best way to overcome fear of dying. Learning about it, understanding that death is our friend, that it allows us to extract the juice out of life if we really understand that. If we really grasp death's inevitability, then it's a way of living more fully. So that's a big question. And Kathy, when I come and you've invited me to speak to your group, and which I'm looking forward to, I'll talk more about that. Dr. Steinberg says, VSED also by far not the worst way to die, Faye. Okay, that's what we used to do here before MAID was legal, as you know. Yeah, there's a new book out by Thad Pope and three others, which is the Bible on VSED, and they also make the point that it's not that as painful as people think. Of course, starvation and dehydration for a young, strong person is torture. We're not talking about that. We're talking about people who are close to death already, where it comes fairly natural to lessen the amount of food and water you take in. So I think Carl, good point. V said is also, but is not. He says that by far the worst way to die. And Greenblatt says some CCRCs, that's the continuing care retirement communities, some CCRs allow residents to choose VSED as long as none of their staff involved. Yes, same for hospice. This is why it's so important. When we go to hospice, when we go to a CCRC, when we go to a nursing, we check what their values are, what their policies are. Don't go in blind, and then when you're there, suddenly find that they don't agree with what you want to do. Especially be very wary of a hospice run by the Roman Catholic Church. I mean, they're not going to be sympathetic. So be very, very careful. Tom says death cafes. Yeah, death cafes are great. I encourage you. Yeah. Oh, I see. Tom's answer was to Kathy's question. How do you overcome fear of dying? Death cafes. Very good. Thank you, Tim. I said Tom. I meant Tim. Thank you, Tim. Thank you. Okay. And then Christopher, how does that work? Christopher, how's what work? The death cafe? Okay, so Christopher, I'll wait for you to come back on that. The new book by Thaddeus Pope, it's up here on my shelves. I've got 400 or 500 books on death and dying right here, and I can't quickly find it. But if you write to me, I will give it to you. Just send me an email, and I will give you the name of Thad's new book. It's not new so much now. It's about a year and a half old. Okay, now let's look. It is. We've only got 70 minutes left, and I want to quickly talk about a green. Let me talk about a green burial. So very quickly, for those of you who are interested, green burial is fascinating to me. My wife and I are going to be buried at Reflection Park, which is 40 acres of beautiful wild land, about 20 minutes from our house. It's a new natural earth it's a green burial ground, Reflection Park. It's only the second one in Maryland. I serve on the Office of Cemetery Oversight that licenses cemeteries, and we just licensed Reflection Park, and so I'm very pleased about that. And what green burial is you do not embalm the body. You do not put the body in a fancy, expensive casket with mahogany handles and whatever. You put the body in a shroud or in a biodegradable wicker casket or something very simple, and you don't put it into a concrete vault as you do with conventional burial. So no embalming and so no concrete vaults. So it's very simple. It's like how we buried people before the Civil War. Uncle Fred would die. They'd stretch him out on the parlor, maybe wash him, do a little celebration, everyone come around to say goodbye, and then they'd put him in a simple coffin and bury him down. In green burial, you only bury down not 5, 6 feet, but only bury 3.5 feet, where the microbial activity is the most active. It's a wonderful thing. And so green burial is an old form of burial. That's why I like to call conventional burial not traditional, because it's not traditional, it's conventional. Okay, so the conventional ways of burial, of body disposition, cremation through fire, where you hit the body to 1700 degrees Fahrenheit, not good. It's very polluting. Mercury from your fillings in your teeth go into the air, very heavily carbon intensive and not good. And then a normal burial is with embalming and so on, is not good. It's very carbon intensive and polluting and wasteful of concrete and wood and carcinogenic formaldehyde and so on. So 3 new ways of body disposition. One is the one I've talked about, green burial, natural earth burial. 2 others, alkaline hydrolysis and natural organic reduction. Alkaline hydrolysis, you put the body in a stainless steel cube, you surround it with water, 5% alkali. You let that water swirl around the body for about, we have 2 different methods. I won't get into the weeds on this, but for about 10 hours, it varies depending on the exact type of alkaline hydrolysis, and then the body disintegrates, and you're left with a skeleton and some harmless water full of peptides, soaps, and other harmless things which can be put into the wastewater treatment system. And then you use a cremulator, just like we use a cremulator in fire cremation to ground the bones. We use a cremulator in alkaline hydrolysis to ground the bones, and what you get back is what people often call ashes. And it costs under $7,000. A conventional barrel in this country is typically $10,000 to $14,000. So it's economically viable. So and then the other way is natural organic reduction. This is human composting. This is where you take the body, you put it in a capsule, you surround it with alfalfa and wood chips and straw. You gently rotate it. It heats naturally to 160 degrees. And after 6 weeks, roughly, can vary, but roughly 6 weeks, the body disintegrates. And from it, you get 1 cubic yard weighing 600 pounds of beautiful soil. So you're converting the body from the body to nutrient-rich soil, which you can put in a grave or under a tree, or do what you want with. So it's a wonderful thing, pioneered by Katrina Spade out on the west coast, and in Washington, and highly recommend it. Cost about $7,000, which is again less expensive than a conventional burial. A little more expensive than direct cremation. I'll concede that. Okay, so let me just put. It is 6:47. There's much more to be said about all that, but I just want to give you a flavor of it. You can find much more, of course, in my book. Okay, so let me quickly.
Say, Chris?
Yes, Faye.
Body donation. A lot of us here are giving our bodies to the UCSD Medical School.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's a great act of.
Nothing to worry about.
Great act of altruism, and a wonderful thing to do. Okay. Uh, uh, Okay, Kim says, does the Hemlock Society or anyone have a list of death-friendly senior care centers? I don't know the answer, but write to us. Go to our website, write to us. You'll find a note there, and we'll try and find the answer for that. There probably, I'm sure there is one. I don't know. Faye, just very quickly, do you know if there's a list?
Well, as I say, I'm at the V. I'm not sure what that V stands for, Viagra or something, but the V. And it's a continuing care place, and it's not death unfriendly. We don't publicize it, but the people who do choose to have an assisted death, it goes very well. I was
Did
with
you,
my friend.
is there a list of
No, I don't think so. And I
okay.
don't know, even if there was a list of senior care communities, which ones are friendly. The one that I mentioned before was White Sands,
Yeah.
which now has a committee to look at end of life options. So.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Faye. And Kim, thanks for asking the good question. Pat, thank you, Pat Fisher. Thank you so much for giving the link to Thad's Pope's book. Christopher Carvano says, yes, how does the death caveat work? So very quickly, you can find this in my book, but Christopher, you gather together, there's no real agenda. There's someone who might facilitate it, but it's where people get together who just want to learn and talk about it. You share experiences, you share concerns, you share anything you want about death and dying. It's very unstructured, a beautiful thing. Usually lasts about an hour. Usually you do it at a cafe or a restaurant, and you get people together. Sometimes it's just 2 or 3 people, sometimes a dozen. I've been to all those. They're very good, and they're very free flowing and unstructured and worth supporting. So if you got a chance, Christopher, to attend a death cafe, I encourage you to do so. Jim Van Buskirk, my friend, says go to deathcafe.com. Yes, Christopher, do that. Go to deathcafe.com and read all about it. Yes, it's a good website, and find a death cafe near you. And just thank you, Jim. Just a gathering of people to share beliefs, stories, fears about our mortality. Highly recommend. Yes. I totally endorse what Jim just said. Melissa Wood, Death Cafe, is like, oh, okay, thank you. Can also be virtual. Yes, they can. So in case there is no group close to you, you can join one that meets virtually. Melissa, you are quite right. Thank you so much. Mary, Natural Organic Reduction, otherwise known as Terra. Yes, that's another word. Terramation, also known as human composting. Yes, thank you. Just being legal in Arizona. Yay, Arizona! And just being legal in Maryland, where I live, which I love it hard for. So that is great. Yeah, and NOR is legal in California, but won't be available till 2027. Quite right. Christopher says, what is NOR and how does it work? Can I do it in New York? Okay, so Christopher, again, write to me privately, write to me by email. I'll help you with that. I'll help you with that. Yeah. Okay. So Christopher I'm not sure I'm saying your last name correctly, Carvano. Please write to me with that question, and I will help you. Mary Arizona law, sponsored by the GOP. Ray, by the way, just simply divided existing cremation into 3 categories: water cremation, natural cremation, and combustion cremation. I'm not sure what natural cremation is. Maybe you put the body out on the outside in the hot sun or something. I don't know, but okay, that's interesting, fascinating, Mary, fascinating. Maryland we did not do that. Okay, all right. So we're almost out of time. It's 6:51. Keep putting questions in the chat, please. I want to end by saying that I am delighted and honored to serve on the Hemlock Society of San Diego board, and I believe, as all of you do, in its mission of giving people at the end of their lives choices in dying, including the choice of a chosen death. If people are facing unbearable suffering and an unacceptable degradation of their quality of life, then I believe, just an opinion, I believe that they should have the right, if they so choose, to hasten their death. A chosen death can be humane, gentle, and wise, and we should all have the right to finish our lives on our own terms. Now, in this book that I've written on page 227, you can find a letter that I wrote to my family. I wrote it about about 2.5 years ago, about ending my life. As background, I have serious heart disease. I've had open heart surgery and will most likely, according to my doctors, die a painful death with breathlessness and other awful symptoms. So I drafted this letter 2.5 years ago. The date on the final letter, if it's ever used, would be sometime in the future. But this is the draft that I wrote. And I encourage all of you to write a similar letter. To my precious family and friends, I have decided to end my life because of the continued pain and unbearable suffering from heart disease. I have lived a full, complete, meaningful, and useful life, but I've had enough and no longer wish to continue. I am a wreck and only a relic of the energetic, productive, and creative person I used to be. I've taken advantage of all the available medical care and interventions. I've decided that further medical treatments are useless and will only hurt me and worsen my life. This decision is mine alone. I am in a rational and calm state of mind and feel completely at ease with this decision. I'm not depressed or mentally unstable. No one has helped me with this decision to end my life. And no one, including the beneficiaries of my estate, has put pressure on me to do so. I support the Final Exit Network and believe in its mission. I've chosen to die now. If I'm discovered before I stop breathing, I forbid anyone, including doctors and paramedics, to attempt to resuscitate me. If I'm revived against my wishes, I shall take legal action against anyone who helped in that action. Please add the following language to my obituary. Quote, Chris took his own life in irrational self-deliverance toward the end of a terminal disease relating to his heart. He did this not out of cowardice or escapism, but because it made no sense to continue living with an unacceptable quality of life when nothing good or loving or kind could be accomplished. He died with a heart full of love, gratitude, and appreciation for all those he loved and who had supported him in his life. End quote. That goes in my obituary. And the letter finishes, thank you for your understanding. Love, Chris, Dad, Grandpa, kisses and hugs. So I wanted to share that letter with you. It is, again, I want to say it's a great honor to serve on the Hemlock board with Faye and Janet and all the others. I want to finish by it's 6:50. Let's see, it's almost 4 o'clock. We've got 5 minutes. I want to read. I just quickly read a paragraph from this is from my book. I wrote here towards the end in the epilogue: "Death is a transformative teacher, but few want to become willing students." I hope this book encourages you to become a student of your own end of life and to determine what you can do to achieve a good death. I hope you have a spirited and robust old age, live as long as possible, agree only to treatments that align with your goals, and have total patient agency. When the time comes, I hope you have a rapid and brief deterioration and a painless death at home, surrounded by your loved ones. I hope you will be serene at the moment of your death and have no fear and anxiety. So I just want to let me just quick, and I got one more thing to say, but let me say. So let me check. So Janet, that's such a nice note from Janet Hager, who's our wonderful treasurer of the Hemlock Society and a wonderful board member. She says, "Beautiful letter, Chris. That will bring comfort to your loved ones. Hopefully, it'll be a long time in the future before this comes to fruition." Yes, hopefully a long time. Kathy says, "Great letter." Thank you, Kathy. Trina says, "Bravo, Chris. Wonderful talk." Well, thank you. Thanks for the compliment. Okay, so does anybody, I want to have one more thing to write. Okay, James Danielson, you got a hand up. I'm delighted. James, please go ahead. You're muted. You're still muted. Okay, we can't hear you, James.
Press the space bar, James.
There.
There you
go.
Yeah. And the legacy is who is dying is one question. I have a legal Japanese name, and I have another legal name as well. But I want to. What I do is write, and I wrote this with the Hemlock Society in mind, to crawl into the dirt hole and feel the earth again, to let the ocean wash my hair as I listen to the world through seashells, and let the wind part my hair. I want to die 1,000 times with 1,000 names on my tongues. I
Okay,
want
James,
to say
James, let me
no.
interrupt. James, let me
This
interrupt
is
you a second.
ending.
How long is this?
It's one more line.
Okay, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
I want to say no just one last time as I find a circle to your heart.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing, James. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing. Very good. Anybody else have a question? You can go to either in the chat or just put your hand up. Yeah, James, Pam is giving you lots of love with that. Anybody else have a question okay, so I'm going to finish up. We're perfect timing, 3:59 Pacific time. I want to, as you heard from um, Faye, I spent my life as a wildlife film film producer, and so I made 3 or 4 films about wolves who I know I really came to love and appreciate. I've camped out with them and done a lot with them. So I want to finish by reading you The Wolf Credo by Del Gertz, and it goes like this: respect the elders, teach the young, cooperate with the pack, play when you can, hunt when you must, rest in between, share your affections, voice your feelings, leave your mark. So thanks everybody. I've really enjoyed it, and you're great to come. You've got my email there, christopher.npalmer@gmail.com. Please write to me if you have any questions that I can help you with. Yeah, lovely comments here. Yeah, lovely thank yous in the chat. Thank you everybody. My website is perhaps Pam, could you put this in the chat, please? My website is www.chrispalmeronline.com. There are lots of freebies on my website, lots of handouts on death and dying that you will enjoy and benefit from. Handouts on hospice, on green burial, on funeral planning, all sorts of things, dozens of them. So yeah, thank you, chrispalmeronline.com. Great. Thank you, Pam, very much. So go there and write to me, and thank you all so much. And I will hand the microphone back to our beloved leader, Faye. Faye, over to you.
Well, after that, I love that wolf. What is that? Wolf
Credo.
Credo. Yeah.
Credo.
I've
Yeah.
heard a wolf say that, but it's very beautiful.
Yeah.
I love the whole talk, Chris. Thank you so much for bringing us all this enlightenment. We should hear from you again because you have so many talks that you can give. We look forward to that. Our next Zoom meeting is actually Sunday, and we'll be hearing from somebody from the Alzheimer's San Diego Association, because we're very concerned with dementia and people who have dementia and what they can do about it is an epidemic that's happening all over the world. A tragic situation. Alzheimer's Association has been very helpful in providing all kinds of services to people with dementia and their families. So we'll be hearing from them on Sunday at 1:30. And all you need to do is register with Pam. And then we're going to do a very interesting program in February, a dialogue between a husband and wife where he has dementia. It's an actual case. They're in Canada. He has signed up for medical aid in dying, but he's getting more and more demented. And it's very touching. But the best part, no, not the best part, but one part of it is it's going to be held in a Chinese restaurant with a delicious menu. So that'll be February 19th, I think, Pam. And we'll advertise it soon and you can sign up. So with that, thank you, Chris, again. And thank you, everybody, for coming. And we hope to see you Sunday for hearing about the Alzheimer's Association. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Faye. Bye, everybody. Thanks so much.